Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Boys, it's Graham Yvina, and I might need to change up my introduction, Like what I've been doing for a while now is saying, welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, like a putz. But the point for a catchphrase is that it has to be either alliterative, where like each word's the same. It has to be a double entendre. It has to be a cultural reference, a pun. You don't know, but I want to change up my introduction because I want you, while you're, like listening to this podcast, while you're trying to avoid working, for you to be like, wow, that was a great introduction, Graham. I'm going to listen now and subscribe to all your future broadcasts. In which case you do, thank you. But if you have any ideas, just send them my way. Leave a review, email me, come to my house, middle of the night, I don't care. Just, if this podcast needs some listeners, So if you have any philosophies for how I could spice up introduction, just let me know. But until I do, it's going to stay like this. So, let's discuss baseball. That's what the show's all about. All right. So the first thing I want to mention is that there is some drama going down between the Chicago White Sox and Tony La Russa. Excuse me. So Tony La Russa is a Hall of Fame manager. He's a legend of the sport. He was previously the president of baseball operations for the Diamondbacks, where he ran us into the ground and destroyed our ball club for like 4 years. And now he was hired. He was hired by Edgar, I think it was like Rick Renteria or whoever runs the Whites, Jerry Reinsdorf, sorry. He was hired by Jerry Reinsdorf to manage the White Sox. And now there's drama going down. I'll get to that next segment. I'm under this contract where I have to talk about contemporary baseball for 3 sessions before I can talk about the good stuff. So this will have to wait for a while. But next segment, I'll talk about Tony La Russa and the absolute horror show that's going on right now between the White Sox and La Russa. You might even call it a mutiny. And people outside of baseball are getting involved too, which is never a good sign. But first, let's talk about some other stuff. So, the White Sox stuff has been dominating for the past week, and we almost forgot about 2 no-hitters that happened. First, Spencer Trumbull of the Tigers tossed a no-hitter. Trumbull is a redhead, like my dad, Keith, and I've always liked that, He's also from Tuscaloosa. He went to the University of Alabama, Roll Tide. If you didn't know, I went to Auburn, War Eagle, and I'm from Alabama originally. I'm doing this podcast right now from Birmingham. So, clearly I have a lot of sympathy for Trumbull. He's doing well. Can't complain. We love that. And then, thereafter, next day, Corey Kluber from the Yankees also threw a no-hitter. And guess what? He's also from Birmingham. That's some simulation theory for you. So, that's great. Anyway, Jacob deGrom, the best pitcher in baseball, I believe hasn't pitched yet this season because he was injured. So, the Mets sent him down to Single A to do a rehab start before he joins the team on their regular schedule. And that's fine, right? So he's playing against the Palm Beach Cardinals, a single-A affiliate of the Cardinals. In the first inning, DeGrom's facing a bunch of 19-year-olds. He winds up, delivers his first pitch 102 miles an hour. And now the Twitter feed for the Palm Beach club is like saying, DeGrom's throwing 102 miles an hour, please send help. They're terrified for good reason. So that's pretty funny because clearly DeGrom just isn't going to stop. Great pitcher, baseball's best pitcher. We love that. And someone on Reddit kind of made a funny post about the DH. It comes from the user Monsieur Fikri, and it's been awarded with gold like 4 times over, 2,000 upvotes on the R Baseball forum. I'm going to read it verbatim. It's called, quote, "Ban the Designated Hitter." As we saw so far this year, 6 no-hitters have been thrown, and all of it were against American League teams. The esteemed league that famously promotes the designated hitter rule because they like old men with dad bods hitting. All of the no-nos this year also happened in the American League ballparks where the DH rule was in effect. More damning fact from this, the last 11 no-hitters have been thrown against teams with a DH in their lineup. This is a massive hit on the DH lovers out there who absolutely hate seeing pitchers hit because they'll all just flow their bats around and strike out. But they cheered anyway when Bartolo Colon hit a home run a few years ago. Hypocrites. Let me throw in a few stats for anyone that still believes the DH is good. Starting pitcher's batting average, .078. Thanks, Otani. Versus DH batting averages in the games where their teams got no hits, .000. Boom, roasted DH. In conclusion, the DH is bad, ban the DH, bleep the DH. So that was kind of satire, but the point is that, yeah, all of no-hitters so far have been against DH teams. Wait, is that true? I know that that Bumgarner threw a DH against some team, and that's the National League. I don't know. I digress. The point is that that was a pretty well-received post. And someone posted again. This is going to be in reference to the 3-0 count Yermín Mercedes incident that happened, which we'll discuss in the next segment. But someone did a graphic of the 3-0 counts seen versus the 3-0 counts swung this year. So it's divided among an X and Y axis where they show you how many times a 3-0 count was swung on versus how many times that the count was even seen. So we're trying to show you how many times people have taken a pitch on 3-0 versus how many times they swung at a 3-0 pitch. So what they want to show you is that, let's see, the teams that have not swung on 3-0 count very often, relative number of times I've seen it, are the Padres, Dodgers, and Rays. They are the least likely teams to swing at a 3-0 pitch versus the amount of times they've seen a 3-0 count. The teams that are the least respectful, meaning the number of times they swung at a 3-0 count, are the Blue Jays, Royals, and the Braves. Just keep that in mind. And by the way, the White Sox have tended to be more respectful. They've seen a lot of 3-0 counts and have swung at seldom few. So that's going to come into play later, all right? Just hold on to that for a while. Hold on to that. And, let's see. Someone did a pretty funny graphic. And they asked, let's say the pitcher throws an eephus pitch. And the ball is just thrown. An eephus pitch you don't know is when you throw a ball just straight in the air. and it comes down over the plate. Let's say the ball lands on home plate after you throw it into the air. Is that a strike or is that a ball? And it's a ball. You can argue it's a ball because it ends up below the kneecap. But you argue it's a strike because it passes through the batter's box zone. So the question is an eephus pitch that passes through the plate and lands on home plate, is that a strike or a ball? And I haven't looked at this up yet, but I'm pretty sure it's a strike. Let me check. Posted 3 hours ago by Crew Noob. And the answer is, the consensus is it's a strike. Good. And apparently someone said that they're going to try to make a 2D strike zone where this kind of thing isn't going to be allowed. So who knows, right? Who knows? Let's see some more stuff. Yeah, I'm really well prepared for this episode. Super well prepared. Someone writes another post saying that MLB umpires are having the best season so far in terms of how many strikes they get right versus how many they get wrong. But I don't know. So apparently the wrong call percentage in 2015 was 11.7%. And now it's 8.6%. So in just 6 years, umpires have been getting more calls right than ever before. Doesn't that feel wrong? So someone did a meta-analysis, and it's getting some controversial comments, so who knows about that? I don't know. Zach Greinke is again being the most interesting player in baseball. There's a gif of him, I'm watching this right now, where he's crouching in the dugout, doing like the splits just to stay comfortable, wearing a hoodie and glasses in a day game. Just being himself, just funny as Zach Greinke. And after that, this is cool. Well, not cool, but let's see what's going on here. Okay, so there's a news article. Do you guys remember Eric Gagne, the famous closer of the Dodgers who set the record for saves one year? So he won I believe, he placed second in Cy Young Award voting one year. So he was charged with a hit and run in Quebec last year in July. Let me read the article. Ooh, this is juicy. Montreal-bred former star pitcher Eric Gagne has been charged with hit and runs, plural, hit and runs last summer for 3 alleged back-to-back-to-back incidents on a highway near Terrebonne. Gagne is 45 years old and has played for the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Texas Rangers, and the Red Sox, among other major league teams, before returning to Quebec, where he was born. Quebec Provincial Police described 2 hit and runs last July 31st, but wouldn't confirm the name of the driver involved, saying they weren't sure if he has been charged yet. The office of the province's crown prosecutor, however, confirmed that Gagne has been charged and will appear in Laval Court on May 25th in the file. Police said that on the morning of July 31st, and this is from last year, a driver in an SUV on Highway 640 near Terrebonne was involved in 2 hit and runs. Shortly afterwards, the same driver collided with a third vehicle on a ramp between the 640 and Highway 40, police said. He fled the scene, but police found him. He and one other driver were taken to the hospital, but had minor injuries. The driver was released with a promise to appear in court, provincial police said. The Crown Office could not immediately provide the full list of charges, but some media reported that one charge is driving while impaired by drugs. Gagne won the Cy Young Award in 2003 for outstanding pitching. And that's the article. Wow. I mean, I'm laughing not because I'm like proud of this guy. I'm not. I'm just saying that I'm laughing because that's bad. And you know, I really want to do an episode someday on baseball and crime. There is enough material there to last several episodes. I could talk about the ball players who've been charged with crimes before, during, or since their major league careers. I could talk about crimes that happened on a baseball field. There's been plenty. I could talk about infamous baseball crimes or attacks or whatever that happened that have attracted national interest. There are a lot. I mean, Josh Hamilton, Ugueth Ubina. I mean, there are a lot of players that have done terrible things. And who could forget Matt Bush? Players who did terrible things before, during, or since their careers. And I really want to do an episode about that, if ever I'm allowed to. But yeah, Aragona got charged with hit and runs and DUIs, which in the States would be probably 25 years in prison. In Canada, it's more like 2 weeks. The Canadians do not take criminal justice very seriously. All right. And that was that for our baseball. And, of course, there's a lot of drama about Tony La Russa and the White Sox. Just please, just stick around after the break. Next segment, we'll talk about this and more. But before we do that, I want to give you a brief overview of, I guess, the statistics for the year. So we've got 4 minutes left in the segment. I'm going to tell you about who's leading the league and which stats. That should be enough. And next segment, I'll tell you guys about standings. Third segment, probably all the drama between Tony La Russa and the White Sox. And then third segment, the game scheduled for tonight. We do that, we're golden. All right, Pony Boy? That's a S.E. Hinton reference. You only get it if you're cool. So, leading the Major League Baseball in batting average is still Yermín Mercedes. Remember that. He's batting .358, 11 points above Nick Castellanos, who's number 2. That's really important. Number 2 is, well, I spoiled it already, Nick Castellanos. 3 is Xander Bogaerts, the Aruban-born shortstop for the Red Sox, batting .346. Number 4 is Jesse Winker, the guy that was picked 1 pick ahead of my selection, and I really wanted him for fantasy baseball. Ouch. Number 5 is Yordan Alvarez, the Cuban. Now, that's for batting average. For home runs, would you believe number 1 is Shohei Ohtani at 14 home runs? And 14 times 4, because we're about a quarter way through the season, is 56 home runs. So Shohei just maintains his pace. That's 56 home runs. Now, he won't. I mean, he's injury prone. He's got a relaxed schedule. He's going to be pitching. My guess is that he's going to hit well, but probably not 56 home runs. But still, off to an amazing start. This is historic. Two-way player killing the game. Number 2 is Ronald Acuna Jr., who walked off the Braves last night. Good for him. Number 3, tied for 3 actually, are 3 players. Freddie Freeman, also of the Braves. Mitch Haniger, of the Mariners. And Jose Ramirez, of the Indians. Ramirez and Freeman had slow starts, but they bounced back in a big way. Good for them. And now, to move on to pitchers. This is going to be short. For wins, the leader in wins is Jack Flaherty of the Cardinals with 8. That puts him on pace for 32 wins. By the way, trivia question. Which starting pitcher holds the modern-day record? Actually, let me rephrase this. Who was the last pitcher to win 30 games in one season? Is it A, Catfish Hunter? Is it B, Jim Palmer? Is it C, Louis Tiant? Or is it D, Denny McLain? Let me know after the break. And lastly, the leaders in earned run average are number 1, Jacob deGrom, number 2, Brandon Woodruff, and number 3, Kevin Gossman. I'll tell you more about that after the break, only at the GSMC Baseball Podcast. Thank you very much.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm still your host, Graham Yavina, here in my comfortable abode in Birmingham, Alabama. Represent Roll Tide, War Eagle. Our state sucks. And I'm kidding. I love Alabama. Clearly the best state there is, except unless you live in a different state, in which case yours is probably better too. So, I asked you before the break a trivia question. Who was the last player to win 30 games in one season? I'm guessing you probably got this wrong because a lot of people I've asked in real life didn't get it right. So the year was 1968. And I asked you, was it Jim Palmer? Was it... I don't remember who the first guy was that I mentioned, but that wasn't the right answer. Is Jim Palmer? I asked you if it was Denny McLain, Louis Tiant, and the answer is it's Denny McLain. So, in 1968, when Denny McLain was 24 years old, pitching for the Tigers, he won 31 games and lost 6 for an ERA of 1.96. Now, 1968 was the year of the pitcher. And that was the year when Bob Gibson faced off against Mickey Lolick in the World Series and did a great job. But 1968 Tigers won the World Series against Cardinals and against Bob Gibson. And that year, Mickey Lolick and Denny McLain led them to victory. McLain that year went 31-6, 1.96 ERA, pitched 336 innings, faced over 13,000 batters, ERA plus of 153, so 53% better than league average. Struck out 280 batters, FIP of 2.53, WHIP of 0.905, and he won both the Cy Young Award and the MVP, which is just downright impressive. He won the Cy Young Award again the following year, but in 1970, he became an alcoholic and fell off the wagon, I guess literally and metaphorically, and stopped playing very well. So he was out of baseball at the age 28 after being a superstar at 25. So when Denny McLain was my age, he was baseball's best pitcher. It was out of baseball less than 3 years later. Superstar player, really talented, and just it was shocking they couldn't make it last longer than that. So, let me read more about this. Yeah, that year in 68, despite winning 30 games, his WAR was 7.4, which is still great, but not as good as I would have thought. And the year after that, he had WAR of 8.1, and never recuperated after that. So in 1968, the Tigers, under manager Mayo Smith, won 103 games and beat the Cardinals in 7 games for one of the best World Series of all time. And remember, 1968 was the year of the pitcher. That was the year when batting was at an all-time low. And Yastrzemski led the league with like a 301 batting average. So that year, the Tigers had Bill Freehan catching, Norm Cash, one of the best hitters of his generation, at first base. Dick McAuliffe at second. Roy Euler, a terrible hitter but a great fielder at short. Don Wirt at third base. Willie Horton, a power-hitting left fielder in, left field. Mickey Stanley in center. And Jim Northrup in right. Al Kaline at the time was playing too, although he was injured a lot. They had guys like Eddie Matthews, the third baseman, who at the time was 36 years old and at the end of his career, playing the corner infield. They had Wayne Comer playing as well. He was later a pilot, a member of Seattle Pilots, and that was great. And on the mound, they had Danny McClain, the ace of her staff, 31-game winner. Earl Wilson, who had an ERA plus of 1.06. So here's something that's amazing. Earl Wilson at the time for the Tigers had an ERA of 2.85, won 13 games, pitched 224 innings, an ERA plus of only 106. So an ERA of 2.85 was only 6% better than league average. And Mickey Lolick, the left-handed pitcher, who had an ERA of 3.19 that year, had an ERA plus of 95. So 3.19 ERA was below average at that point. Below average. And Joe Sparma, their fourth starter who had an ERA of 3.7, had an ERA plus of 82, meaning that he was 18 points below league average. Wow. Anyway, they faced off against the Cardinals that year, the 1968 Cardinals. Those Cards that year won 97 games. Were managed by Hall of Famer Red Schoendienst, Hall of Famer. Catching, they had Tim McCarver behind the plate, who would later go on to become a broadcaster. Then they had, let me check this out. Yeah, they had Tim McCarver catching. He was, of course, a broadcaster. Hall of Famer Orlando Cepeda at first base. Good for him. Then they went on to have Julian Javier at second base. They had Dow Maxville at short. And they had Lou Brock, the Hall of Famer, in left field. That year he stole 62 bases. They had Curt Flood, who is probably the most overlooked player of his generation, in center. And then they had Roger Maris in right field. Wow. I mean, Roger Maris, I knew he played for the Cards for a while, but still, that's pretty impressive. And then they had, on the bench, Dick Schofield, Ted Simmons, who was also a great player, 18 years old at the time, Ed Spezio, and Ron Davis on the bench. Pitching, they had Bob Gibson, who went that year 22-9 and had an ERA of 1.12. Isn't that something? That's the lowest single-season ERA in the modern era. He broke the record. Well, I was going to come to a trivia question. So, the lowest ERA before then was from Dutch Leonard with a 0.96 ERA. But Bob Gibson still had an amazing season. And that year, he won both Cy Young Award and the MVP. So, the pitchers from both squads, Denny McClain for the Tigers and Bob Gibson from the Cards in 1968, both were the MVPs and Cy Young Award winners of their respective leagues. McClain won 31 games. Bob Gibson had the lowest ERA of any season in Major League history. Clearly, that was something special. I mean, that's just incredible. So then, the Cards also had, on the bump, Nellie Briles, Steve Carlton, who was a young man at that point, but, also another future Hall of Famer, Ray Washburn and Larry Jaster, and Mike Torres, too, who I think gave up one of the home runs to Reggie Jackson in the 1977 World Series. Yeah, that's right. So that was also pretty great. And, yeah, I don't know how we ended up with that subject, but there we go. So, Anyway, earned run average. So, the leaders in ERA are Jacob deGrom, who was injured, made his rehab start with single A for 102 miles an hour today, has ERA so far of 0.68. He is just incredible. I know he's going to have a short career, but he might make the Hall of Fame at this rate. Brandon Woodruff has an ERA of 1.58. Excellent. Kevin Gossman, ERA of 1.66. John Means, riding the high from his no-hitter, ERA of 1.70. And Trevor Rogers, one half of a twin group, has ERA of 1.74. And Mark Melancon of the Padres has 15 saves, which puts him on track for 60 saves. So, trivia question. What is a single season record for saves, and who owns it? A. Troy Percival. B. Mariano Rivera. C. Kent Tekulve. Or D. Francisco Rodriguez. Let me know. But leading the league in saves is Mark Melancon. Second is Alex Reyes. Melancon has 15, which multiplied by 4 is 60. That's quick math. Jake McGee is third with 11, and the former Diamondback Ian Kendi has 11. So good for them all. Good for them. That's enough stats, isn't it? You're thinking, Graham, I don't care about this. Let's talk about something else. All right, fair enough. Let's talk about scores from standings. Standings. I like standings better. Standings. So, the best team in baseball for the American League East right now is the Boston Red Sox, 26-18, plus 41 in run differential. Good for them. Number 2 is Tampa Bay Rays, 26-19, 0.5 games back, 38 run differential. The Rays are killing it. They've won 7 games in a row. We'd love to see that. The Yankees are now 1 game back, plus 15 differential, won 3 games in a row. And the Blue Jays are 1.5 games back, but the differential's plus 40. They're hot too. The AL East is the toughest division because of those 4 teams. I mean, they're all within 2 games of each other. That's really good. The Orioles, however, aren't on the same planet. They are 8.5 games back. They've lost 3 in a row. Their differential is negative 41. Ouch. They're basically getting scored by 1 run per game more than their opponents. That's never good. So then, in the AL Central, the White Sox are the best team at 6-1-9. Okay, pretty good. Plus 73 run differential. They're scoring, on average, 2 more runs per game than their opponents. That's really good. Number 2 is the Cleveland Indians. 23-18, 2.5 games back, plus 9 differential. That's really damn good. Number 3 is the Royals. They are 20-22, 6 games back, negative 26 run differential. Now, number 4 is the Tigers. 17-26, 9.5 games back, negative 57 run differential. They ain't outscored on average by about 1.5 runs per game. That's the worst in Major League Baseball. And yet, somehow, they're doing better than the Twins, who are 14-28. 538 published a graphic on their website where they alleged that the most disappointing team in baseball in terms of expected winning percentage and current winning percentage are the Twins. They are not performing well. They've lost 2 games in a row, 14-28, only winning 1 of every 3 games they play, negative 38 run differential. Ouch. All right, and then in the AL West, the Wild West, the Houston Astros are 26-18, plus 66 run differential. That's really good. They've won their last 2 games. They're on a roll. Number 2 is the Athletics, though. They are half a game behind the Astros, but their differential is negative 18. So they're playing above their standards and succeeding despite the fact that they have allowed way more runs than they've scored. So that'll be interesting. Number 3 is the Mariners. And I love the Mariners. I mean, I'm sentimental because Ichiro used to play there. He's my favorite player for a long time. 21-23, negative 28 run differential. Big oof. 5 games back. Ouch. Number 4 is the Angels. Imagine having both Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani in the same lineup, and your team still sucks. So, they are 6.5 games behind the Astros. Negative 40 run differential. They just straight up can't pitch. And number 5 is the Texas Rangers at 19-27, 8 games behind the division leader, negative 24 run differential. Skirt. Okay, we're going to go to the NL now. Less depressing this way. The teams in NL at least are not as incompetent as the ones in the AL. That's right, I'm an NL supremacist. So, in the NL East, the Mets are 20-17, 1 game ahead of the Phillies. They have a negative 8 run differential, but they're still leading their division somehow at just 2 games above 500. Number 2 is the Phillies, the city of brotherly love that houses the worst fans in baseball. 22-21, 1 game back, negative 4 run differential. Number 3 is my hometown Atlanta Braves, which I hate because I have to. I'm a contrarian. 20-23, 3 games back, negative 17 run differential. But Acuna and Freeman are playing like all-stars this year, so you never know. You just never know. Number 4 is my second favorite team. I love these guys, the Marlins. The Marlins. I love Miami. I love the city. I love South Florida. Marlins are number 4, 19-23, and yet they have the best run differential in the NL East. They're the only team in that division that has scored more runs than they've allowed, and yet they're number 4. They're only 3.5 games back behind the Mets, but the Marlins deserve to be doing better, man. It's just luck. They're just being unlucky. 5th in the NL East is the Nationals, 17-23, 4.5 games back, negative 18 run differential. Oof. Okay, NL Central. The NL Central. The St. Louis Cardinals, home of America's most violent city, 25-18. 3 games ahead of the Cubs for number 2, plus 20 run differential. Good team. Winning streak of 2 games going into tonight. Next up is the Cubbies, 22-21. 3 games back, plus 7 run differential. Good on them, big ups. Number 3 is the Milwaukee Brewers, 21-22. 4 games back, negative 20 run differential. Number 4 is the Reds. The Reds are 19-23, 5.5 games back, negative 22 run differential. You know, I know the Reds are America's oldest baseball club. We owe them respect, but still, that's pretty bad. And number 5 is the Pirates, 17-25, 7.5 games back, negative 50 run differential. That's really bad. They've lost their last 3 games. Ouch. All right. And finally, the NL West. Okay, number 1 is San Francisco Giants. 28-16. No games back. Plus 57 run differential. Good on them. Bad for everybody else. By the way, the NL West. The Giants, Padres, and Dodgers are killing the game this year, destroying baseball, setting the league on fire, steamrolling competition, and the Diamondbacks and the Rockies are just being the punching bag right now. And I love Diamondbacks. They're my team, and they suck. We need to fire everybody who's ever made any trade that's led to this team being created. We suck. The Giants are number 1 right now, 28-16. 14-4 at home, 14-12 on the road, plus 57 run differential, winning streak of 5 straight games. The Giants are killing it right now, led by Kevin Gossman's right arm. Number 2 is the San Diego Padres, 27-17, one game behind the Giants. Differential of plus 51. They've won 6 games in a row. The Padres are showing up. Number 3 is the Dodgers. 25-18, 2.5 games back, plus 61 run differential. We love to see that. Winning streak of 3 straight games. Wow. Number 4, however, is the Diamondbacks. We were 18-26, 10 games behind the Giants. Differential of negative 32. We've lost 4 straight games in a row. We're on track for like 78 games if we're lucky. And by the way, we're not lucky. I mean, man, we just suck right now. And number 5 is the Rockies. The Rockies are 15-29. They're on pace to lose 118 games. They're 13 games back. Differential of negative 37. They've lost 5 games in a row. Ouch. We'll come back for more after the break. Stay tuned for more. Only at the GSMC Baseball Podcast. Thank you very much.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm still Graham Avina, and I want to talk to you guys about a controversial thing that happened just 2 days ago. Okay, so you know how all episodes I've been teasing you with stuff like vague notions of something happened to the White Sox, Yermín Mercedes, Tony La Russa, and you're thinking, Graham, I'm on my break right now, and just get to the point or I'm never going to talk to you again. And I heard you loud and clear. So here's what's going on right now. Here's what's up. Here's the scoop. So there was a game a few games ago where there was a 3-0 count, and it was a blowout game. The White Sox and Twins were playing each other, and the White Sox were destroying the Twins, and in the 7th inning, the Twins yanked their regular pitchers and put in their backup catcher to basically pitch. And the batter, Yermín Mercedes, hit a home run on 3-0 count with his team up by 12 runs in the 7th inning. And Tony La Russa saw that and was so upset that he began to talk to the press about how he was going to discipline Yermín and to make sure that Yermín didn't make the same mistake again. And that caused civil war. The players on social media are talking, crap about La Russa, saying that he's an old fossil who doesn't get it, and he's being a jerk, he's causing problems and airing out all of her dirty laundry, and La Russa is saying that Yermín is just basically disrespectful and doesn't understand the unwritten rules. So, I'm going to show you guys a video from my favorite baseball YouTuber, Jomboy, that's Jomboy, at Jomboy Media, and he is known for doing baseball breakdowns of events. So this one's about 9 minutes long and explains the situation perfectly, succinctly, and you guys need to hear this, all right? So I'm going to play for you without further ado. Tony La Russa embarrassing his own players in front of the media. Let's do this.
So, there'll be a consequence that he has to endure here within our family.
We're a family. So if you have no idea what's going on, what's the grave mistake that this guy's player made that the family is going to make him endure? He hit a home run in garbage time when the other team threw up the white flag, said, hey.
So it's now top of ninth inning. The Sox are up 15-4. 3-0 count, 2 outs, and there's a position player on the mound.
We're going to put a position player on the mound because we don't care about this game anymore. But can you guys please not try? Because if you do, it'll get our feelings hurt. That's what happened here. We're slowly learning over and over again that the generation of baseball players that consider themselves tough are actually the biggest babies when it comes to getting their feelings hurt. Here's some more on it.
If you had been at the ballpark, just about the time the guy started to pitch, I took several steps from the dugout onto the field yelling, take, take, take. Because just the way he was set up, I looked to me like he was going to swing. And the whole time he's around the bases, I'm out there and I was upset because that's not a time to swing 3-0. And as I happened to look over there and I know the Twins knew that I was upset. It won't happen again because Joe will be on the lookout and I will be too, and we'll go running in front of the pitcher. We have to. He's not going to do that again. I heard he said something like, I played my game. But no, he doesn't. He plays the game of Major League Baseball that respects the game, respects the opponents, and that was not. And he's got to respect the signs. When he gets to take sign, he takes.
So yeah, if he blatantly disregarded a sign from his coach, I get it. You can't do that. Here's the 2-0 pitch. But, I call it bullspit in my personal opinion on the whole sign. Like, Tony La Russa says, maybe he's looking at the sign there. I'll show this again. So the 2-0 pitch gets thrown. It's a position player pitching. The Twins have given up on the game. Does he look for the sign there? It's kind of too quick to maybe even get a sign. He barely even looks. He steps in. Now, Tony La Russa says at this point, he saw that he was digging in, and he ran up the top step because the horror, don't swing at this pitch. You'll get everyone mad at us. So Tony La Russa says he ran up the steps screaming, take, 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 take. Which, show me the footage, otherwise I really don't believe it. I think he's exaggerating it for effect. And then he does swing at the 3-0 pitch, and he hits a home run, and that's the grave mistake that he made.
I actually apologized to the Twins. I sent the message over there. Not acceptable then.
He apologized to the opponent because his player hit a home run after the opponent put a position player on the mound and said, we don't care about this game anymore. We're not even going to try. He went and apologized.
Do you expect anything in retaliation of sorts from the Twins?
I'm hoping that they know that I was really upset with it. It shouldn't have happened. I hope it's enough.
So I think that's the crux of the whole thing. I think Tony La Russa is giving this ridiculously terrible optics interview, hoping that the Twins don't hit one of his players, and he's actually, in a pseudo way, defending his clubhouse by trying to get in front of it and saying, I formally apologize to the Twins. It was a grave mistake. I ran up the steps to try and stop it. I'm so sorry. We should have never done that. So that his players don't get hit. That's what a lot of people are saying. It could be it. It's just a weird way to go about it, and I don't think it worked when you got his own players backing the player and not the coach. Tim Anderson says the game wasn't over. Keep doing you, Big Daddy. And Lance Lynn said, if a position player is on the mound, there are no rules. Let's get the damn game over with. And if you have a problem with whatever happened, then put a pitcher out there. If it's a pitcher whose stats are on the line and pitching in garbage time and like a young kid, sure, maybe let him get back in the count. Still don't really think so, but it's a fucking position player. The Twins gave up on the game. Anyway, the next game, Duffy's on the bump and he's breathing heavy because he got told by his Twins coaches that he has to hit Yermín. I don't think Duffy acted on his own. Phil Hughes was on the Pardon My Take podcast talked about a time when he got told he had to hit someone.
It wasn't even like that. Like,
right.
It was, this guy was being an idiot, and our pitching coach came over and said, like, hey, next inning you got to hit this guy. And I didn't do it. I missed twice. I threw one right at him, and he, like, somehow got out of the way. And then the next one, I'm like, okay, I got to go in a little bit more to get this guy. And it went behind him. Jeez. And he was pissed. The manager got thrown out. He got thrown out, and I stayed in the game.
So, you know, maybe Duffy acts on his own here, or maybe he got told by the coaches that he has to hit this guy, which I think is what happened. He throws behind him. Everyone kind of like, whoa, ooh, that guy gets a little fright. Right behind him, Yermín grabs a look at him right here and is like, oh, okay, maybe you guys are mad. And Duffy's like, ah, shit, I missed him. I'm going to have to hit him again. The umpires get together to figure out what's going on, and they say, you know what, let's just get this guy out of here. This is a stupid situation. They throw him out. Me? All right. Tim Anderson says, get your ass out of here. Get out, pussy. Weak ass. Anderson's got his players back. Rocco comes up. The manager of the Twins says, you had the whole crew get together to make that decision?
What's going on here, in case you're uninformed, is that so the day after Yermín Mercedes hits that home run, and La Russa basically throws a tantrum, that's a clinical term, in front of the press, Baldelli, the manager of Twins, orders his pitcher Tyler Duffy to throw behind Yermín Mercedes. And Yermín doesn't get hit, but clearly it was intentional. And the managers come out and huddle, the umpires huddle, and then throw out Tyler Duffy. No warning, nothing. They're just like, yeah, we don't need this. They throw him out. Baldelli comes out of dugout to argue and says, hey, you should have given a warning before the game, and you shouldn't have just had that meeting. And La Russa the entire time is kind of watching this thing and see what he says about this.
Goes out. He probably is a little mad. Tony La Russa's like, oh, wow, okay, cool. Baseball, I'm doing the damn thing. I knew that would happen. I called it. Here's what he said after the game about this. It's bizarre.
Umpire's opinion. It wasn't obvious to me. I threw a sinker and, it didn't look good. So...
He said that it wasn't obvious to him that they threw at his player on purpose, even though his whole before-the-game preamble was to stop them from throwing at his hitters. This dude's just gatekeeping for his version of the sport of baseball and the umpires and the other team. I don't get it.
I wasn't that suspicious. I'm suspicious somebody close to somebody's head. And they're not suspicious. So, I don't have a problem with how the Twins handled that.
He has no problem with how the Twins handled it. He only has a problem with how his team handled it, not the opposing team. I don't know, man. Just bizarre all around and stupid and just dumb. And this is the weirdest part of the whole interview. It didn't really have anything to do with the main storyline, but I wanted to throw it in here at the end. It's just funny. He was asked, are your players allowed to swing at 3-0 pitches and swing big in blowouts if they have a regular pitcher on the mound, not a position player? And he said this.
If you could do it differently, I'd send, and we'd have to play position, I'd send 3 pitchers up there. Just stand there and tap the ball someplace.
He would send 3 pitchers out there and just tell them to tap the ball because he doesn't want to tell his own guys. He doesn't want to tell his hitters to go up there and get out on purpose. So if the other team sends a position player in a blowout, he'd just send up pitchers to hit because too many feelings are on the line. What are we doing? If you want the other team to stop trying, quit, I guess. Fuck, man.
I'm absolutely certain that the guy's not going to swing 3-0 in another situation. But I'm not going to tell you, I didn't try to spank him, he's too big and strong.
In case you didn't catch the last part, that's the end of the video. In case you didn't catch that, La Russa says, I would try to spank him, except he's too big and strong. Which is just, wow. Anyway, so, La Russa, if it sounds like I'm biased here, it's because I definitely am. So, La Russa's actions here have caused a storm in baseball. Tim Anderson, the shortstop of the White Sox, has been posting on social media a lot, saying that he supports Yermín and thinks that La Russa is out of touch. His words. Yermín tweeted that. Lance Lynn, pitcher for the White Sox, tweeted that. Evan Marshall said some things about that. So the players are sort of supporting Yermín over their manager, La Russa, which is never a good sign. A number of players from around the league, like Trevor Bauer, supported Yermín too, even though they're different players on different teams. Made a YouTube video that Trevor Bauer posted on his YouTube page. Check that out too, Trevor Bauer YouTube. Basically supported Yermín, said, if you made a bad pitch, you made a bad pitch. This is an unwritten rule, but it's not a big deal. Said that he supported Yermín. And Tony La Russa said about the incident where Duffy threw behind Yermín, quote, "What did they do? The guy might just have been trying to get a sinker in. You don't read minds. So I'm not going to read their mind. Also, I don't think this umpire gets judgment, so La Russa's still being an ambivalent guy about retaliation. More upset about his player pimping a home run 3-0 than he's about people throwing at him. And that's pretty bad. That's really tough. So La Russa needs to stand by his players, and the fact he's not doing it means something. That's like the first rule. Hang on, my mom texted me. Let me answer this text real fast. Doing the podcast. Send. Okay, my mom texted me and said, "Hey, do you want to go work out with me? Question mark. Heading over to the gym in a few." And I wrote, "Can't, period. Doing the podcast, period." Wait, my mom's writing me right now. I've got the 3 dots on the screen. Let's go ahead and live stream my mom's response to this act of insubordination. Oh, look, she wrote, "Ah!" Exclamation point. Okay. No punctuation. Space. Celebration emoji. Mom's rule. And I love my mom, just to be clear. So, by the way, if you have a mom in your life, go give her a hug. Mother's Day happened a few weeks ago, but that's never an excuse to not hug your mom. So, what was I saying? Okay, yes. So, La Russa's saying some more stuff. So, according to Bob Nightingale, Tony La Russa stands his ground on criticism of Yermín Mercedes, saying it was a mistake to swing on 3-0 pitch in a 15-4 game. His rule of thumb: do you think you need more runs to win? You keep pushing. If you think you have enough, respect the game and the opposition. Sportsmanship. So La Russa's saying that in a blowout like that, you shouldn't be swinging 3-0. Other players are saying you're blowing it out of proportion. My radical centrist take is that it's fine to talk privately with Yermín Mercedes and say, "Hey, I gave you take sign, 3-0 count, we're up by a dozen runs, 2 outs, 9th inning. Don't be greedy. Don't swing 3-0 again." If you want to do that. And if you have to say something to Yermín and it's going to be a point and you're going to go that route, then do it privately. If I've been in charge and I was going to tell Yermín to not swing 3-0 on that situation, the only people we've ever found out about were myself and Yermín, and that's it. It would have been a casual 10-second conversation of, "Hey, great hit, don't do it in the future." And that's it. But this is like a 3-day saga. Doesn't have to be like that. So, more Tony La Russa. If you're going to tell me that sportsmanship and respect for the game of baseball and respect for your opponent is not an important priority, then I can't disagree with you more. And more stuff. In May 2000, someone posted, Tony La Russa's Cardinals were up 15-3 in the 9th inning, and a catcher was pitching. Thomas Howard of the Cardinals swung 3-0 to hit a home run to go up 17-3. Can't find any archive stories about Tony throwing Thomas under the bus. Ooh, he's applying a racial motive. Wow. And CC Sabathia, the former All-Star and Yankee, wrote that La Russa should not be managing that blanking team. And just yikes, this is ugly. And by the way, Tony La Russa does suck. So I'm going to Google this just to make sure I didn't forget anything important, but I can do this from memory too. So La Russa, first of all, he was the manager of the Athletics when McGuire and Canseco were juicing. And he was the guy who said loudly that all of his guys were clean, and he knew. He supported their steroid use. He knew they were juicing and said nothing about it. Evan years later once tried to play the martyr role. It was clear that he understood their juicing and cheating the game. He's like, players should respect the game, and he was harboring multiple steroid users at the same time. What a hypocrite. He doesn't care about preserving the game's integrity. He was breaking that as a manager of a team that cheated more than anybody else. That was crap. And then he has 2 DUIs. So he was arrested in Jupiter, Florida in 2007 for DUI, was found asleep at the wheel of his running SUV with his car in park at a stop sign, was booked, blew a .093 after like 8 hours, and then he pleaded guilty to that charge and was charged just 13 years later for a second DUI. He was charged with a second DUI last year, in February 2020 in Phoenix. So he has 2 DUIs and talks about how we have to have integrity for the game. And he was elected to the Hall of Fame unanimously by the Veterans Committee, full of old farts that don't believe in statistics. And La Russa is a denier of sabermetrics. He has said things that are racially controversial. He has a law degree, but he's just a jerk. He really is a jerk. I don't like him. And he was in charge of the Diamondbacks to be our director of baseball operations. And in his time there, he traded Dansby Swanson for Shelby Miller. He traded Dansby Swanson, Ender Inciarte, and Aaron Blair for Shelby Miller and Gabe Spire. Spire never made the big leagues, and Miller had an ERA like 6.4 and then 6.7 for the Diamondbacks before we got rid of him. He hasn't been the same since, and Swanson's now a superstar with the Braves. He was in charge of the worst trade in Major League Baseball history. And he just got a big severance package and was given a big contract, and it's just ridiculous. It's awful that he just keeps failing his way to success. I'm pretty sure that I know more baseball than that guy. He ruined the Diamondbacks. He made trades that just bankrupted us and never, ever helped us out. We didn't succeed when he was managing the Diamondbacks. He drove us into the ground. And we did not have a single winning record when he was in charge. And then he traded away our number 1 prospect, the number 1 overall pick in the draft, for Shelby Miller, who blew for us. And then he got a DUI after preaching the importance of having integrity. And he's picking fights with his own players. He's just a jerk. He shouldn't be a Hall of Famer. He's only in there because he's a good old boy, and that's a good old boys club. And you know, he's a sabermetrics denier. I mean, I'm repeating myself here, but he really is not a brilliant manager by any stretch of the term. Jerry Reinsdorf hired him because in 1986, Reinsdorf fired La Russa, and now Reinsdorf feels guilty, and now before they both kick the bucket, he wants to make amends with La Russa. He doesn't care if he's a bad match for this team. So I'm just upset about that. Anyway, La Russa, if you hear this, man, do everyone in baseball a favor and quit. We'd be better off without you. Stay tuned for more after the break. Only at the GSMC Baseball Podcast. Thank you very much.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Guys, if the audio sounds weird for this segment, it's because my cat is now occupying the seat that I vacated to use the restroom in between sets. His name's Sebastian. He's a big old boy. He's a Bengal cat. He's a big cat, and now he's occupying the chair. And here's the thing. Like, I live in a house with chairs, and I have 2 cats. And there are copious chairs all around the place. And you'd think that, the cats would be like, oh, hey, here's a chair that no one's sitting in right now. Let's go take that chair. But no. See, my cats are always cold. Like right now, my dad saved money, turned off the air conditioner. He's paying $20 a month for air. It's an expense we can't afford. So now, it's now 81 degrees in the house. I'm sweating right now. I'm doing this podcast shirtless because I sweated from my last shirt. I'm dripping with sweat. And my cat is still cold. So I got up to use the restroom, and the chair I was sitting on for the first hour of this podcast, my cat elected to go sit there now. So I'm standing over the chair where my cat is smiling at me, taking a nap, yelling to the podcast. So, sorry. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys about some more baseball stuff. I'm on the Our Baseball forum, and I wanted to show you guys some videos. So this is one from the game today from the Rays. So Joey Wendle is facing against Wilkerson, the pitcher, and this is another blowout game. So it's top of ninth, 2 outs, 1-1 count. The Rays, sorry, I'm burping. The Rays, of which Joey Wendle is a member of, are up 9-1. The Orioles, which will not win the game, are putting a position player on the mound. So Wilkerson throws a 45-mile-an-hour eephus, and watch this. Listen to this.
And here's one hit deep into right, and that ball is going to get out of here. So Wilkerson, touch for the home run. And the Rays in double figure.
Listen to that one more time.
Still out front. And here's one hit deep into right, and that ball is going to get out of here. So Wilkerson.
It looks like they're not happy about that. But that's what happens when you throw an eephus down the middle. I don't care. Wait, sorry. Let's see. Yeah, I was reading a... Man, I'm reading the comments, and something is so bizarre I have to tell you guys about it. So let me go ahead and pull it up right now. So it says, so many of you have probably been aware from the local broadcast crew this year and last year, when your team is on the road, they will use the camera shots from the home broadcast. For the Mets, our play-by-play guy, Gary Cohen, has regularly made comments and jokes about the other team's camera work when the Mets are on the road. An example of this would be when the Mets were in St. Louis earlier this year. The Cardinals broadcast would not show a single shot of their manager, Mike Shildt. Even when he went to the mound, they would find weird angles to make sure he wasn't in the shot. It kind of became the running joke of the game in the Mets booth that the other team wouldn't show their own manager. Just little stupid things like that. I bring this up because something similar happened in St. Pete last weekend that's going to change my view of Joey Wendle forever. The Mets were playing the Rays, and the Rays camera crew kept cutting to close-ups of Joey Wendle's face while playing defense. This was kind of weird, so Gary Cohen said the Rays broadcast must be having a long conversation about Wendle, which is why they kept cutting to him. But he had no idea what they were talking about. The Mets on-field reporter, Stephen Gelbs, did some investigating. he found that Wendle was being shown so much and was being talked about by the Rays booth because apparently in their post-game show, the Rays were going to do some sort of piece on Joey's life and career. One of the details given to Gelbs that he then relayed to the booth was that as a child, Wendle got his competitive spirit from his older brothers, who would apparently put a shock collar around his neck as a child and electrocute him. This apparently made Joey tough and resilient. Gary Cohen and Ron Darling's reactions were pretty much, quote, that's child abuse, and it's kind of messed up. It was one of the most bizarre and funny moments from the Mets booth in a while, in my opinion. So yeah, now whenever I see Joey Wendle, I think of him as the guy who got electrocuted so much as a kid by his asshole brothers that he became a Major League Baseball player. And now that you've read this, I trust that you will think of him the same way. End of comment. So that was posted by you, Furthatse, in the Our Baseball forum. Wow. I didn't even realize that was true, but apparently people in the comments are corroborating it. So, good for him, I guess? I don't know what the statute of limitations is on shocking your little brother with a shock collar, but I don't know if he'd have standing or what jurisdiction would be, but still, cool story. People in the comments had the same reaction I did, which was that, is this for real? Is this a real story? But yeah, so he crushed that fastball, teed off of that. Good for Joey Wendle, the best hitter in baseball without batting gloves. Okay, and so I told you guys some bad stories, right, about how Pujols is now a Los Angeles Dodger, much to everyone's chagrin. Anyway, Pujols allegedly hit his first home run tonight as a Dodger. I haven't seen this yet, but I guess we'll watch it together. That's right, you're special. Let's do it.
On a 1, Pujols hits the ball the other way, deep to right field. Reddick's going back at the wall. Albert Pujols, his first Dodger home run. On a 1, Pujols hits the ball the other way, deep to right field. Reddick's going back at the wall. Albert Pujols, his first Dodger home run.
So, as you probably have guessed, it was against the Diamondbacks. And yeah, I mean, Pujols just looks so weird as a Dodger. It's just, like, why did they sign him? Jesus, but he looks so bad as a Dodger. Anyway, good for Pujols, good for the Dodgers. The Cardinals, man, I don't know what they were thinking. Like, you got to snatch him up. Just because some things are better than baseball. Some things are bigger than sport, and Pujols is one of them. He deserved to retire as a Cardinal. And this is just embarrassing for the sport. Good for Pujols. But man, this is just bad. Let's look at the comments, shall we? The top comments from a Dodger fan named Riddy Visbrook, who writes, "We must keep getting away with it." Someone replied to them saying, "You MFers could pull me out of the stands, and somehow I'd be hitting 330. The Dodgers just kind of keep winning, don't they? And someone writes, too, as a joke, "Where do the Dodgers keep finding these prospects?" Oh, man. This is bad. Albert Pujols is gunning for comeback player of the year, someone else writes. Man. Yikes. That's just bad. Okay. And Pujols is actually playing as number 55, I think. Wait, let me check this out. Pujols is number 55. That's disrespectful. He should be number 5. Let Corey Seager change his number. Not Pujols, not the next Hall of Famer. Anyway, DeGrom finished his game against the low-A St. Lucie Cardinals tonight. 3 innings pitched, no hits, no runs allowed, no walks, 8 strikeouts. So he faced 9 batters, struck out 8 of them, and threw 41 pitches. Yep, I'd say he's recovered. Ready for the big leagues. I wonder what the game score is prorated. I don't know. That's pretty cool. Okay, looks like Yermín Mercedes the prodigal son, hit another home run just now. Let's look at this one.
I don't know that I've ever seen a ball hit where that one's going to land. He put it up on the Budweiser roof.
Okay, he hit a foul ball.
I don't know that I've ever seen a ball hit where that one's going.
Okay, so Yermín hit a foul ball, not a home run, but he hit a foul ball that went 118 miles an hour, 39-degree launch angle, 481 feet. Okay. Tony La Russa's going to have a problem with that somehow. Let's read the comments on that one. I love seeing foul balls that are absolutely mashed when Carlos Gonzalez murdered this ball. Let's watch this one.
This ball crushed. If it's fair, is long gone. It is.
Oh my goodness.
That is in the upper deck. I mean, not barely. That thing is up by the railing in the upper deck.
If that fan doesn't catch that baseball, it hits the back wall.
Are you kidding me?
You should just try. Jim Wolf is talking to Cargo saying, I've never seen a ball hit that far. The longest foul ball in the history of baseball right there.
Yeah, that was crazy. That's even better than this one. Okay, cool. Cargo and Yermín are doing great. I mentioned that Corey Kluber threw no-hitter. Good for him. Steven Duggar had a great year. Someone else wrote that MLB umpires having the best season in the StatCast era. I don't know. That sounds kind of strange. Darren Ruff hit 3 legs of a cycle. Did not get a triple tonight, but that's still good for him. Watch this.
Mashed to left. Crushed to left. A grand slam for Miguel Sano.
Yeah, Miguel Sano of Twins, the worst team in baseball, hit a grand slam in the first inning. Hopefully that chips away at everyone else's lead. Good for him. Good for him. And Brandon Crawford, playing for the Giants, hit his 11th home run of the year. 3-run moonshot to make it 14-1 Giants. Let's watch that.
Crawford sends one deep right field. Forget about it. Brandon Crawford muscles up.
Yep, against the Reds this time, not the Diamondbacks. I'm happy for that. Okay, so, I think I asked you before the break, maybe 2 sections ago. My memory's kind of hazy these days. Who set the record for the most saves in one season? And what was that number? And I asked you, y'all didn't know the answer, I'm assuming. Making a lot of assumptions here, but the answer is Francisco Rodriguez. And K-Rod that year had 62 saves. 62 saves that season. And let me go ahead and pull up his the leaderboards for that. Let me check this out. Let's see. Saves. Okay. Oh, here it is. So the leaderboards for the most saves in one single season are, number 1, Francisco Rodriguez, in 2008 for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, 62 saves. Number 2 is tied between Bobby Thigpen of the White Sox in 1990 and Edwin Diaz of the Mariners in 2018. And Thigpen played baseball at Mississippi State University with Coach Ron Polk, Will Clark, Rafael Palmeiro, and Jeff Brantley. And by the way, my dad played against Mississippi State at the time. He gave a home run to Palmeiro. So he probably did meet Bobby Thigpen and Will Clark. Good for my dad. But Bobby Thigpen, great pitcher, played for the Mississippi State Bulldogs, made it to the Bigs. My dad probably met him. Good for them. Number 3, tied, John Smoltz, the only man in baseball history with at least 150 wins and 150 saves. 55 saves for the Braves, 2002. Then, Eric Gagne, the aforementioned triple hit-and-run driver, 55 saves, 2003 for Los Angeles Dodgers. Number 4, tied, is Randy Myers, left-handed pitcher from the Orioles. No, excuse me, the Chicago Cubs, 1993. He is memorialized in David Wells' book, Perfect I'm Not, where he says Randy Myers is the best left-handed reliever he's ever seen in his life. Then Trevor Hoffman, Mariano Rivera, they all have 53 saves as well. Eric Gagne is again on this list, 52 saves for the Dodgers 2002. And then Rod Beck and Jim Johnson and Mark Melanson and Juris Familia all have 51 saves. So saves are kind of being a lost art because, remember, these days saves can be scored without much of an effort. Like, all you have to do is basically not give up 3 runs before you give the lead. So that's how you get that's how you get a save. It's not a very high bar to climb, and it happens a lot. So anyway, good for all those guys. And before we close, I just want to say that I love baseball, love a sport. Let's talk about one short story from my book, Baseball Anecdotes. If we could leave one good story, I'd be happy. So let's see. Let me read this out. Let me try to find a story. Okay, here's one. All right. Connie Mack, the Hall of Fame legendary baseball manager, had a hard time with names. He called his star pitcher Lefty Groves, and he referred to Lou Boudreau, player-manager of the Indians, as Mr. Bordier. He also had a hard time with money. No sooner would he assemble a championship team than he would break it up again to bring in some cash. When he hired Jimmy Dykes, a former player of his and his eventual successor, to be a coach in 1948, Mack told him, "Jimmy, I'm afraid we can't pay you enough money." To which Dykes replied, "Do we have to start in where we left off 16 years ago?" Good for him. And let me go ahead and do another one. All right, let's see. Well, here's one. One of the most celebrated of baseball photographs shows the old National League umpire, Big George Majorkirth, on his back at Ebbett Field, being pummeled by an irate Brooklyn fan. The fan had chosen these rather extreme measures to protest a call by Majorkirth, who had reversed a pro-Brooklyn decision by fellow umpire Bill Stewart. It turned out that the mugger was an ex-con. He was later returned to the penitentiary for violating parole. A few years later, Brooklyn judge Samuel Leibowitz encountered the man, now on trial as a pickpocket, in court. Having established that this fan was the fan who jumped the umpire, Leibowitz asked him, "How did you come to lose your head that day? Were you really as stirred up as all that? Hot enough to slug the umpire, especially a big one like Majorkirth?" "I was pretty stirred up," the pickpocket acknowledged. "But just between you and me, Judge, I had partner in stands that day. We were doing a little business." And that's stories for this episode of the podcast. Thank you for listening. I enjoyed it. This was a good episode. Thanks for sticking around. My name is Graham. Listen to next week's episode only at the GSMC Baseball Podcast. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.